Good time of day. My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Ch.4 Himatsubushi. Last episode, Akasaka and Ooishi successfully saved Toshiki from the kidnappers, and Rika told Akasaka a prophecy about what's going to happen over the course of the next few years, including her own death. And now I imagine this is probably going to be the finale of this arc, since we've read all the tips now, and I'm not sure what the fuck else could happen, really, so yeah, it might be an hour, might be 2 hours, who knows, but I'm just gonna finish this arc in this sitting, because I'm assuming we're very, very near the end. So yeah, but before we get into the actual episode, it's time to discuss the latest episode of Go, because, there's not really too much to say, I don't think. I haven't really done too much thinking about it, but either way, we're gonna go into spoilers for Go. If you don't want spoilers, then mute, and when I pull down the menu, you are free to unmute, yada yada. Let's begin. Okay, so, I think we can definitely finally say 100,000 million kajillion %, Satoko's also a looper. However, at the same time, because it's, okay, Satoko knows more than she's letting on in that episode, obviously. That's the only reason why everything she said resonated with Rika so much, because Satoko is, she's either a looper or she's being manipulated by someone else who's a looper. As for who that someone else would be, literally, it could only be Featherin / Hanyu, or, and this one's a shot in the dark that's probably wrong, Irie. My reason for saying Irie is the fact that Irie was the only character Satoko brought up in that whole scene where she was ravaging Rika's intestines with a ceremonial hoe, you know? She said something like, doctor has me injecting myself constantly, so I know how to use needles, yada yada. So, you could spin that in one of two ways. Either one, it's because of her own treatment, and shit like that. Irie gives her injections, and he's like, yeah, just inject yourself with it, I'll teach you how, yada yada. Alternatively, it could mean, alright, so this is a deadly disease. I want you to inject it into somebody. I don't care who. Just inject it into them, tell them to kill Rika. What his motivation would be, I don't know. It could be Featherin, but either way, I think Satoko is acting as a proxy for either Featherin / Hanyu or Irie. More than likely, Featherin / Hanyu rather than Irie. But I'm not going to discount Irie at this point, because then at that point, Irie could still be a proxy for Featherin / Hanyu. Never know. The only reason why Irie doesn't fully fit into my theory is because this whole time, ever since Watadamashi, I've been thinking, that this is a game between Rika and technically, Rika and Satoko / Burn Castle and Lambda Delta, hosted by Featherin to turn Rika and Satoko into Burn Castle and Lambda Delta. The only problem with that is that this whole time I was kind of thinking like, well, if Satoko's a looper, she's doing bad shit to hurt Rika. But, although that's probably true, I think it's incredibly likely, though, that Satoko is reluctantly doing all this. I think she's definitely doing bad shit. I think she definitely at least manipulated Ooishi, Akasaka, Akane, Kimiyoshi, Keiichi, those five, in those 5 quick little, in Tatari Damashi, and those 4 quick little arcs in Neko Damashi, in order to fuck with Rika, and punish her for hating Hinamizawa, and going against Oyashiro, or whatever. I think she's legitimately doing that for that purpose, but she's being controlled by someone else, and she cares about Rika. So, I believe most of what Satoko said. I don't think she's hiding anything else, really, other than the fact that she's also in the time loop. I think she's trying to... She wants to help Rika, but she's forced to hurt her. And I think that's probably part of the game for Featherin. As for how that applies to Onidamashi and Watadamashi, if Satoko did kill Rika in Watadamashi, which I'm 99% sure she did, and if she killed her in Onidamashi, which I'm 99% sure she did, what would be the reasoning for that? Perhaps it was because she didn't have the ability to give people this accelerated Hinamizawa syndrome like she did to Ooishi and the others in the later arcs? Maybe. Alternatively, it could also be that she could but didn't have the ability to. Because I think, honestly, with Rena and Onidamashi and Mion and Watadamashi, that's regular Hinamizawa syndrome. I'm 95% sure, at least. The remainder of them, in Tatari Damashi and Neko Damashi, that's like an accelerated, crazy form. Even worse than any other character has had it before. Just turns, with the exception of Kimiyoshi to an extent, it turned them all 100% remorselessly bloodthirsty. The only reason why Kimiyoshi might not fit in, though, is because it's fucking Kimiyoshi. Old-ass man. What can he do? He can't really go with what Ooishi or Akane or Keiichi did and go on a huge massacre. Akasaka also only targeted Rika, but Akasaka and Kimiyoshi still acted in the same way, for the most part, that Ooishi, Akane, and Keiichi did, talking about parasites, and their neck being itchier than any other characters had. So, yeah, that's what I think is probably the case. As for where we're going from here, I don't know. We're clearly going to get something with Takano next episode, so maybe we'll finally figure out what happened with Takano and Tomitake in at least Onidamashi and Watadamashi. There's not really any indication of what happened to them in Tatari Damashi, but in Onidamashi and Watadamashi, they just kind of left. Tomitake never ended up dead, they just went missing. No one saw where they went, and especially in Watadamashi, they stole a car, didn't they? I believe they did. It was one of those two arcs, they stole a car, and the other, they just disappeared otherwise. So, yeah. I don't know where we're really going from here, but those are my thoughts on it. So, let's just get back into this chapter, finish it up, and see what happens. Welcome back, guys. Let's begin. Who the hell's Miyuki? Seems like some kid. Papa? Are you there, Papa? Okay. That makes sense. Akasaka's kid. So, this whole chapter was a flashback so far, right? So the flashback's over now and we're in the present? Okay. Huh? Oh. Are you alright? Were you having a scary dream? I'm guessing it's a little girl. Miyuki was sitting next to me. I quickly patted her head. Yeah, okay, after hearing her say that. I must have had a bad dream while sleeping in the cabin. I was sweating profusely. No, it's nothing. I guess it's a little hot in here. I tried to wipe away the sweat while answering, and looked around for a handkerchief or towel. And then a cold drop ran down my forehead. Miyuki turned to me and smiled, then wiped my face with the towel she received at takeoff. Plane? Why are we on a plane? Thanks, Miyuki. Of course. Thanks to her, I was finally able to shake off my slumber, so I got up from the aisle seat and looked out the window. I wrapped my arms around Miyuki in the window seat and listened to the noise as the land and sea blew past us before our eyes. Wow, it's Hokkaido. Hokkaido is so big. And then the plane gently turned before entering the airport runway. Okay. Arriving at the lobby, I glanced around, looking for Ooishi, and was met with a familiar, gruff voice calling out to me. Hey, Akasaka-san! How many years has it been? It's been a while, hasn't it? Ooishi-san, it really has been a long time. Ooishi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion. Akasaka-san, you're looking pretty good. You look like a bona fide frontline investigator now. You're looking quite dapper yourself. Your posture seems a lot better. Is the ballroom dancing paying off? You should give it a try while you're still young. You'd be a hit with the ladies. A real babe magnet. Ooishi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things, had started taking ballroom dancing lessons. He had apparently gotten really into it, and had decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. Interesting. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80, and live out his old age dandily. Oh? Who might this be? Oh, she has a sprite, okay. Yeah, so that's his kid. Ooishi suddenly turned his attention to Miyuki, who was standing idly next to me. He bent down on his knee to look her in the face. However, my daughter was frightened and hid behind my back. Come on, Miyuki. Please introduce yourself properly. She was staring at Ooishi with a dubious expression while tugging at the hem of my shirt. She's usually not this shy. I wonder what's wrong. Sorry about that. She's usually not like this. Oh no, it's no problem. This old man just has a scary face. If you don't mind, could you tell me your name?
I'm Miyuki Akasaka. I'm 7 years old. Nice to meet you.
Great, that was a good introduction. I'd expect no less from Akasaka-san's daughter. Ooishi gently stroked Miyuki's head and smiled as though she were his own grandchild. After finally seeing that, Miyuki smiled in relief. Shortly afterwards, Miyuki told me that she was just doing what I had told her to do. Be careful around strangers. Ooishi overheard that and let out a hearty wah-ha-ha-ha, shaking his body while laughing and walking. I let myself into Ooishi's car and we headed out towards the hot spring inn. I had originally intended to crash at Ooishi's place, but Ooishi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in the hot springs, then ate a delicious feast until we were full. Miyuki had a little of the Mongolian barbecue and was delighted with it. After our bellies were swollen, Miyuki grew sleepy and went off to bed. Then Ooishi and I reminisced about the time we played Mahjong together in Hinamizawa. It seemed that to celebrate our reunion, Ooishi had looked for people who could play. But unable to find a suitable candidate, we had to give up on putting together a table. Right, because the foreman would be dead, right? As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during the final manhunt. Did they end up catching those two guys? Oh, look at the drip on this man. Nope. In the end, the search team never found them. They were probably hidden by the villagers, then sent overseas or somewhere else far away to lay low for a bit. Ooishi-san, if I remember correctly, you managed to grab one of their guns, didn't you? Did you learn anything from that? It was a foreign military pistol. It's probably from the ones the gangs in Kansai managed to smuggle in a ton of. We tried to get a match from the rifling, but it didn't show up in any other cases. How about on your end? After that, I was removed from the front lines, so I don't know much. In the end, it seems like everything was settled under the veil of secrecy. Ooishi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink. Man, if only Keiichi could have this icy drink. Did someone say ice? What happened after that? Sure was tough, huh? It has been 7 years now? Yeah. We held the memorial service a few days ago. I've become estranged with my father-in-law lately, so it was rough getting everything ready. Oh, what, your wife died? That must have been a lot of work. It was then that the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer clanked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Ooishi meant when he said it must have been tough. Thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after, when I phoned Ooishi to apologize. When I did, Ooishi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with the suspects, but I disappeared to drink late into the night without leaving any sort of contact information, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, and that I should come to the station as soon as possible. At the time, I could only think that he must have been really pissed off. But when I arrived at the station, he said this. Seems your wife was involved in an accident. Oh. Having no idea what happened, I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yukie was staying at. After being given the runaround several times, I was finally able to talk to someone in charge, and after mincing words for quite some time, they told me, Yukie Akasaka died in an accident. Ah. Okay, part of me kinda remembers this. She falls down the stairs, right? I mean, I don't know what the fuck else it would have been. She wouldn't have gotten hit by a car if she was in the hospital. The world became a blur as I sat there dumbfounded. Yukie's death was unbelievably abrupt. Unbelievably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth, but Yukie's death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs on the way up to the roof, she just happened to slip and fall. Yeah, wasn't there some, hold on, yeah, there was a tip earlier where she was talking to herself like, I want to look at the sky or something. I don't fucking remember, but it was something like that, so yeah, that's probably when she died, when she went to do that. And she just happened to fall in an unfortunate place at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yukie's death on somebody, I began to think that it was an act of revenge by the Defense Alliance, that they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. What I learned when I flew back to Tokyo, however, was much more cruel than that. Yukie had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening, I see. There was an elevator up to the 7th floor, but from there, you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late in her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Her father had always said for her not to push herself, but Yukie insisted that until the time she had no choice but to stay in bed, she should be allowed to do as she wished. However, I had never once seen Yukie go up to the roof. I only heard that from her father and the nurses. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend that time with me instead. I heard the reason why Yukie went up to the roof from a nurse she had become friendly with. So she was still pregnant when this happened? What? She said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, she was able to cheer him up and give him courage. But when he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. She was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, she felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why, whenever he went far away for an important job, on the evenings he didn't call, at the very least, she felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings would reach him. Very Subahibi of you, game. At that moment, I remembered the words that girl had told me. That it was best that I go back to Tokyo right away. Ah, okay. So that's the connection. I see. Otherwise, there would be something I'd regret horribly. Yes, that's it. Because I was away on business that day, Yukie had headed up to the roof. Had I known that this would have been the result, had I done as the girl had said and dropped everything to head back to Tokyo, I might have been with Yukie on the day she died. If I was with her, she wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died was on the evening of the 3rd day of my trip. Yes, it was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yukie's voice, and ran around the village trying to find a phone. The girl had gone around and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't, and I had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yukie's death at the time and collapsed in tears. Of course, even though the cords were cut, it had only put me off learning of Yukie's death by that one evening. In the end, I had learned of it the next morning. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized that it was that girl's small token of consideration. That's the first I've heard about that. Yeah, it's the first time I've talked about it. Could it have been a coincidence? She doesn't have any special powers or anything. Aren't you the one who told me, Ooishi-san, that she might be the reincarnation of the god called Oyashiro-sama? Well, yeah. The old folks in the village believed that Rika Furude had divine powers. Divine powers? Ooishi had originally said it as a kind of joke, but realizing that I was serious, he slumped his shoulders. I don't know if that's the truth or not. They said she did things like prophesize the future, or talk about things she should have no way of knowing. That she was clairvoyant, that it was divine revelation. Well, all sorts of things. Of course, they couldn't give specific examples, though. Nah. She prophesized Yukie's accident. Ooishi tried to laugh it off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, he kept it restrained. Does that mean an active and capable investigator from the Metropolitan Police Department believes in divine powers and curses? Having him say that so bluntly, I couldn't respond. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things, but he could only say that because he didn't know what I did. Since I met that other girl, who both was and wasn't Rika Furude, I couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity. Of course, I can't deny that it might not have been What? What is that word? Pre-science? Prescience? Prescience? I don't fucking know. But rather, a warning. Not that word again, but a warning. If what that girl has said, probably supposed to be had said, was a warning about Yukie's accident, then things became much easier to understand. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat. Because I didn't go back to Tokyo, my wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident. Not satisfied with the investigation into your wife's accident? Of course, I suspected foul play. I pored over the results and even carried out my own personal investigation. There weren't any witnesses to Yukie's fall. There was the possibility that somebody had hidden, waiting to push Yukie down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the roof to hang laundry. The security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and I was unable to find anything suspicious. In the end, even after my personal investigation, I can't think that anything else happened other than a simple accident. Well, of course, these were the guys that took the minister's grandson hostage. It wouldn't be impossible for them to push a lone pregnant woman down the stairs without leaving any evidence. Ooishi's expression had completely sobered up. They murdered your wife? When Yukie died, I thought that as well. More precisely, I wanted to blame somebody, so I created the most viable scapegoat. But without any clear evidence, that violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart. Did that girl know beforehand about my wife's death and was threatening me? Or did she prophesize that death and was offering me a road to salvation? If I had to choose between the two, I would tend towards the latter. Ooishi smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. Then if I may, if what you say is true, then Rika Furude was a prophet who knew the future. If so, why didn't she predict that disaster? If she knew that the gas eruption was going to happen, why did she remain silent? Even a few hours beforehand would have been enough. If the village knew, then most of the people would have escaped without dying. Oh shit. Great Hinamizawa Disaster and Memoriam List. 59, question mark, Article 12, March 31st, 1984. It was near the end of June 1983. Volcanic gases from the Onigafuchi swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gas across the country, causing people to overreact over any reports of odd smells. I mean, that makes sense though. Like, odd chemical smells are scary, honestly. Like, I work with chemicals at my job. I do inventory and crap. And sometimes there's a chemical that just smells really, really bad, and I'm just like, oh shit, well, I might die today. I don't know whether they're toxic or not, but it's a school, you know? I do chemical inventory at my college. So it's like, I don't think they're going to be just leaving out these chemicals that their smell can kill you, you know? So it's not that worrisome, but there's always that little tick at the back of your mind that's like, this smells really weird. It might kill you, you know? Specifically with just chemicals, though. It's not like you'll smell something, like... It's not like you can go into a, I don't know, a fucking disgusting bathroom or something, and it's just like, oh, it smells like ass in here. That's not gonna kill you. Your brain's not gonna tell you that's gonna kill you. But a chemical that smells oddly toxic is just like, oh, well, that's bad. I don't open the bottles or anything. I'm not supposed to do that, because some of them say, like, I'll read on the bottles, the fumes can be fatal, and I'm just like, alright. I'm glad this bottle's taped shut. I hadn't heard of the blockade on the Hinamizawa area being lifted, so it should still be cordoned off. That's... It was my turn to be lost for a response. Well, if Rika Furude, the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was killed, then the village might have incurred the god's wrath, making him call forth the miasma from the swamp to kill everyone. That explanation is what the survivors are whispering about. So who survived in this arc, then? Sorry, Ooishi-san. Did you just say she was killed? Huh? Yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a problem if I told you. When I saw the news about the gas disaster, I remembered that girl. I then found her name in the list of victims. That's why, at the time, I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. It was after that I learned from the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. And that string of mysterious deaths lined up exactly with what that girl had predicted, so I had always thought to ask Ooishi about it, as he had been involved in the investigation. That's right. That was the reason for our reunion. But right now, Ooishi had said, Rika Furude didn't die in the disaster, but was killed? Can I ask you about the last year of the curse? I may be retired, but I still have to keep things confidential, you know? Excuse me, madam? Do you have anything cold that's brewed locally? High grade, if there is. I'll leave the selection to you. Oh my, I didn't mean it that way. Ooishi laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, and stopped the hostess to tell her that the cheap booze was fine. I know as much as was written in those magazines, but I don't know anything about the curse that happened the year of the disaster. Because the entire area around Hinamizawa was sealed off, you see? There wasn't much of an investigation that could be done on the last year of the curse. Even if after several years the quarantine is lifted, the villagers are mostly dead, and what few survivors there were mostly went to stay with relatives, their whereabouts mostly unknown. It's a complete dead end. Ooishi seemed to postulate to himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory from the rusty cogs in his head. And then he said in a completely sober voice, The magazines made it seem like the curse of the 5th year was that disaster. But the actual curse really happened on the day of the Watanagashi festival. A photographer by the name of Jiro Tomotake. He was the victim. Ooishi gestured about how the victim tore out his own throat with his fingernails as he talked. And the burnt corpse of the woman Tomotake was in a relationship with was found in the mountains. The neighboring prefectural police weren't very cooperative, so I don't know much about it, though. There were 2 victims in one night? Actually, see, it wasn't just those 2. You see, the next day, Kumagai-kun, one of my subordinates, disappeared along with his car in the middle of his investigation. Oh, Kumagai? Damn. Kumagai was a younger detective that was going to be partnered with Ooishi after we first met. He was going around the village to question people about the incident with Tomotake. He might have gotten caught up in something. If he was with me, he might have been safe. Even now, it still stings. That day, for some reason, I did a real number on my stomach. I had to pass on going around outside. He got too close to the truth, and was made to disappear? That's what I think. Kuma-chan was young and had a promising future ahead of him, but he still didn't have enough experience on the scene. He wasn't used to dealing with any complications. Ooishi lamented the fact that he wasn't with his subordinate that day. And then the next day, see? You know him as well, Akasaka-san. You know, Dr. Irie. You remember him? Ah, that young doctor from the hospital. I vaguely remember. For whatever reason, he committed suicide with sleeping pills. Oh, okay. Again? No suicide note or anything. The autopsy confirmed that it was the sleeping pills. Nothing was in doubt except for the motive. It isn't that hard to make it look like somebody died from taking sleeping pills, is it? Any possibility it was a murder? He was single, no prior marriages. Didn't seem like he was going out with anybody in particular. He was a coach of the local junior baseball team and was on good terms with the villagers. He was liked by everybody. I couldn't find anybody who would want to do him harm. Well, any chances to investigate were ruined by the disaster, though. There's no way to find out anything about him now. Then, what about Rika Furude's staff? It was that day. Around noon, some of the old folks who were visiting the shrine discovered the corpse of Rika Furude. Murder? Before we continue, you should probably stop eating that squid somen. That bad? Ooishi nodded firmly. The corpse was found on the shrine grounds next to the donation box, although she was probably killed somewhere else. That's because while she was completely naked, there wasn't any dirt on the soles of her feet. Any sign it was some sort of sexual assault? According to the autopsy, there wasn't any indication of that. What we know is that she was rendered unconscious by some sort of drug, carried to that place, then had her abdomen sliced wide open. Her organs were deliberately removed and scattered about. Unconscious? Then she wasn't cut open after her death? That's horrible. That girl's prediction was right on the mark. I'm pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that lead up to her own. For example, I think she said that the housewife that was beaten to death on the 4th year had her head split open. Then, in that case, did she know that her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wanted to doubt the validity of her own predictions. But, as people died exactly as prophesized, as years passed, that prophecy would only come closer to fruition. And then, facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, her all-too-young life was snuffed out. And in such a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events heralding her end, my heart ached at her helplessness. About the way she died, seems like it wasn't just somebody's sick tastes. What I'm saying is, I've told you before about how Hinamizawa used to be home to demons, didn't I? Yeah, I think I remember. The festival in Hinamizawa village, Watanagashi, the cotton drifting, seems to stem from the drifting of entrails. Seems that it came from the man-eating demons ripping apart their victims and throwing their organs into the river. So wait, they wouldn't eat their organs? Wouldn't that... I don't fucking know, whatever. In other words, in Hinamizawa, pulling out entrails had some sort of religious meaning? Well, this is according to the old tales in Hinamizawa, you see? To act as an arbitrator so that the humans and the man-eating demons could live together peacefully, a god known as Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens. If I recall, Rika Furude was said to be the living incarnation of that Oyashiro-sama, wasn't she? Yeah. So, cutting open Rika Furude, who was a living god, would be to the village nothing less than absolute sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege. In other words, you mean sacrilege towards Oyashiro-sama? The rest you should know, Akasaka-san. The wrath of Oyashiro-sama would occur that same night. The great Hinamizawa disaster. The official explanation was that some swamp upstream, I can't speak, erupted with toxic volcanic gas which enveloped the village. The swamp where it erupted was called Onigafuchi Swamp. It was the origin of Hinamizawa's old name, Onigafuchi Village. According to village lore, the depths of the swamp apparently lead to hell, where the man-eating demons came from. That almost seems too perfect. Oh, no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was another bit of folklore in the village. If Oyashiro-sama became angry, the cauldron of hell would open up and miasma would flow out. Or so they say. To the villagers, hell was at the bottom of the swamp. So basically the miasma poured out, smothering the village. Yeah, basically due to the sacrilegious way that Rika Furude, the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was killed, the village incurred the wrath of Oyashiro-sama in the form of that disaster. That seems to be their explanation. So, what you're saying is that the disaster wasn't a natural one? Well, everything does seem to fit together a little too well. If Oyashiro-sama's curse doesn't really exist, and everything really was just a matter of coincidence, I would doubt it. A wry smile formed on Ooishi's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though, even if it were absurd, there was a time he had thought the same thing as well. In regards to the religious beliefs of the villagers, suppose there was a more fanatical group among them, and that group created the situation that would incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath and enacted the disaster to make it seem like the truth. Of course I won't laugh. I've wandered down that line of reasoning more than once myself. However, even though Hinamizawa is a small village, it still has a population of over 1,000 people. To murder that many people in a single night doesn't seem realistic, no matter how you think about it. The gas eruption was believed to have happened around 2 a.m., several hours before dawn. In that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible at all. The swamp the gas erupted from still had some religious significance, didn't it? If that's the case, then maybe there was something set up in the swamp, something that could be activated whenever a divine verdict was rendered. According to the JSDF press release, the swamp was declared the source of the eruption. This was after everything was thoroughly looked over by their investigative team. If anything like that was set up, I think they would have found it. It wouldn't necessarily have to be in the swamp itself. Come on, haven't you ever heard about it? The old story about how when a faraway spring dried up, the village spring dried up as well. What do you mean by that? Many waterways are connected by underground aquifers. Swamps and springs are only the parts that manage to pop above the surface. Nice. So what you're saying is that Onigafuchi Swamp is connected to another swamp or spring. And there's something the villagers rigged up there long ago. Something that changes the pressure of Onigafuchi Swamp, causing it to erupt with poison gas? Is that what you're getting at? Ooishi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the young'uns have a nice flexible way of thinking. That was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis that he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind to not dismiss it right away. That's an interesting theory. If that proves to be true, then it would be unprecedentedly the largest mass murder in the history of Japan. Once the quarantine on Hinamizawa village is lifted, I think it should definitely be investigated. Ooishi-san, do you still have any connections with the XX Prefectural Police? Somewhat. I'm an honorary advisor for their judo classes, so even now I pop by summer training camps and such. I don't know when the quarantine on Hinamizawa village will be lifted, but please, let me help investigate. Got it! Ooishi-san, how do you feel about the string of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa they call the Curse of Oyashiro-sama? At the time, the villagers were putting a lot of pressure on the station. The official stance on things was that the cases were unrelated, that each case was separate, each with its own resolution. That couldn't be, even though it was blatantly obvious that the cases were connected based on the village's religious beliefs. Akasaka-san, we can only say that now because of the rather grandiose way things ended after 5 years. At the time, those coincidental incidents just happened to coincidentally occur on the day of Watanagashi. Just a "it would be nice if nothing happened this year" kind of feel to it. Coincidence? The girl predicted everything from the beginning. Girl? Rika Furude. That child warned me about all the incidents that would happen afterwards. Akasaka-san, is that true? Yes, the girl said as much. That the next year the dam foreman would be killed and his corpse dismembered. Not only that, she warned me of all the events that would transpire in the following years. Akasaka-san, when she told you all of that, what year was it? When I met the girl, I was investigating the kidnapping incident, so June of 1978. The year before the dismemberment murder. Wrinkles formed between Ooishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I had just told him. Akasaka-san, if you're wrong about Rika Furude knowing the future through some divine medium, this is getting ridiculous. Yup. If you're just trying to shock me, I'm going to be really angry, you know? I'm speaking the truth. Then the script behind the chain of mysterious deaths was written a year before it even started. And, just as predicted, Rika Furude was killed. At first, I thought she meant that she would be killed in the disaster. However, now I know that her death wasn't due to that, but rather an atrocious one at the hands of a murderer. She said she would be killed. At that point in time, she knew more or less how her own death would occur. Then, why didn't Rika Furude try to run away? Even if her death was already spelled out for her, knowing that, she still had a grace period of several years, didn't she? She had plenty of time to try to run away or consult the police. Why did she just accept her death with no resistance? I don't know. Even though Rika Furude was doted upon by the older folks in the village, you see, after she lost her parents, she had no living relatives and lived a fairly solitary life other than hanging around with some close friends. Might have been that she didn't have any power to fight or anybody to rely on. She must have tried signaling somebody for help in regards to her own death, though. You know very well that the village and the police weren't very amicable with one another, Akasaka-san. At the very least, I never heard about anything about Rika Furude seeking protection from anybody. Or it could be that she simply resigned herself to being religious sacrifice. It could have been something like that. There's no way that was the case. I spoke decisively. At that time, she said it. She had definitely said that she wanted to live happily, that she wanted to spend her time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life. She had hoped to keep on living. She took Gundam's words to heart. At that moment, I became dumbstruck. What's the matter? Akasaka-san? No, it's nothing. I fell into silence. Ooishi folded his arms and began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually, he stood up and headed towards the hallway to find the hostess, yelling that he wanted a pen and paper. When Ooishi, noisy even though he was just thinking, left, the room immediately fell into a chilled silence. I stood up. It was then I realized that I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. When I slid open the window, a beautiful yet somehow ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. It was just now that I realized she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep living, happily and joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me, but I was a fool. I hadn't been asked explicitly, so I hadn't realized it. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Wasn't that her cry for help? She didn't say as much that she wanted help, but even given that, it wasn't as though she was looking for salvation. Without any family and unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village. Somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. She had gone around and cut the phone cords. If I had made that phone call and learned of Yukie's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why, knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help from me. Ooishi, just before now, had lamented that one of the younger officers gotten mixed up in a case, having been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in June of 1983. I could have protected her. In 1983, it would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter Yukie had left me, putting all my youth and passion into my work, honing my wits and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. That word confused me for a second. I did not mean to click again. Nothing like my failings during the kidnapping accident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight, and by that point, I'd jumped into foreign mafia-run gambling parlors where I'd learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I had grown so much that in 1983, I couldn't have even compared to how I was in 1978. That's why, if I was by her side, I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plots drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should have still been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized it if I was told of Yukie's accident, I wasn't able to realize it. I wanted to cry. If I had taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yukie's accident. And I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned about the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned about that, I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. In order to recover from the shock of Yukie's death, I had tried to remove everything about the place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was. Even though in exchange for saving her, the girl had told me of a way to save Yukie, I was unable to accept her gratitude, and now here we were. She hadn't died in her sleep due to a natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand that on that day of that year, she would be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl without anybody to rely upon, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined death, and left this mortal coil. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant. For any person that was ever born, it was the very basest of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. She had said it. That if all deaths were preordained, then hers was probably also all according to plan. She might have been a lone, frail girl, but I don't think she would have accepted it all without at least putting up a fight. There must have been, in some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with what she could muster, seeking my help was part of that. God damn it! I howled. I stomped the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on at that time I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right. I was still green. If I was in that situation now, I would have definitely been able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to settle the regrets she left behind, Hinamizawa, as a dangerous area, was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. The stage of that tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I wouldn't have known unless Ooishi had asked me about it. Akasaka-san! Are you okay? At some point, Ooishi had returned with a notebook in hand. Until I saw the expression on Ooishi's face, I didn't realize that I was in tears. I never realized she wanted help! Akasaka-san, calm down. But it's all too late now. She was killed in such an atrocious manner. She was counting on me, but I couldn't save her. I couldn't save her! I might also be at fault for not building up an amicable relationship with the village. If Rika Furude had told me about it, I might have been able to extend a helping hand. I wasn't able to build up enough trust for that. That's something I regret. When Ooishi said the word trust, it weighed on me even more. Yes, she had given me her trust. She trusted me. Meaning that she thought I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried. I fell to my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually, Ooishi spoke quietly. Akasaka-san, does it upset you? It does! Then, there's only one way worth mentioning for Rika Furude to have her revenge. Is there really? Is there a way to do that? Ooishi showed me the pen and notebook. In order to properly mourn the death of Rika Furude, we have to at least find out the truth. The truth? Yes, and not just Rika Furude. Lots of people died. Their laments must be immeasurable. But their deaths were left unsettled because of the disaster, and now we can't even investigate them as their memory fades into oblivion. Many people died. The old man was killed, Kuma-chan was erased, everybody was a victim! But the police can't even investigate it! Who's going to take care of their parting regrets? Only we can! Akasaka-san! find the truth. Yeah, we'll find it. I've been around every one of the string of mysterious deaths and know all of the inner workings of the village. You were told an important truth the year before they happened by Rika Furude. We can do it. But they're already dead. That's right. Rika Furude died. You were too inexperienced, so you couldn't save her. Nah, I can't do crying well enough. Ooishi grabbed me, who was a wreck, and lifted me firmly by the lapels. That's why! To atone for that, we reveal the truth. If what you say is true, then all the incidents were part of some greater design. If that's the case, then how we investigate needs to change completely. I intend to spend tonight summarizing all the information you and I have, and then get in contact with one of my former subordinates first thing in the morning. We're not going to let the case go cold. We're definitely going to crack it wide open. Crack it open? Crack it open? We will. Several years have passed, but it's not beyond the statute of limitations. Even if the case has been postponed, it's not closed. It's still going. We're going to keep it going. Yeah, you're right. Let's do it, Ooishi-san. I won't let it end like this. I'm certain. We will uncover the truth. We absolutely will. I demonstrated my resolve to Ooishi by crying out those words. And just then... Oh, hello.
Papa?
The sliding door behind me opened, and Miyuki revealed herself while sleepily rubbing her eyes. My shouting must have awoken her. Then she rushed over to me.
What's wrong, Papa? Papa, why are you crying?
Oh. It's nothing, Miyuki. It's nothing. I tried hard to smile while wiping away my tears, and though Miyuki looked like she was about to cry herself, she extended her little hand to me.
Are you alright? Did you have another scary dream? Don't cry, Papa.
And when she makes that gesture toward me, I saw the figure of another girl overlapping with her. Oh? And her innocent gaze and innocent expression felt frustratingly nostalgic, filling me with painful torment. A girl who couldn't be here because I didn't reach out to her. She borrowed my daughter's body to offer me words of comfort. Okay, this is kind of goofy, but I guess I get it. Fuck, what was your voice again?
Akasaka, please don't cry.
It might be a hallucination. Maybe a convenient illusion formed from my selfish dreams. However, that was her voice. I'm certain I heard it. Rather than blaming me for my mistake, she was compassionate. Why am I crying? After all, I have something more important to do than crying. Miyuki, before you were born, Papa met a girl in Hinamizawa who was like an angel.
An angel? Really?
Yeah, she was cute and kind. I wanted her to meet you, Miyuki. Right, it's already an impossible wish. That future is already gone.
Then I want to be friends with that girl.
Huh?
I'm looking forward to it. Next time you go, take me with you. To Hinamizawa.
Even so, there's still something I can do. Of course, we'll meet her together. Someday. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
Someday, I'm sure, we will see her again. That summer, the Higurashi cried in Hinamizawa. Ooishi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I, at least wanting to apologize, had searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, her remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine on the Hinamizawa area was lifted, they would be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Rika Furude, until today I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa is lifted, all I could do then was wait until whoever that person is returned to the grave. What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, I would reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. Even now, sporadic eruptions of gas in the Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of the quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely, it seemed that she had no intention of meeting me again until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Until the day I grasped the truth. It was the following year. Ooishi and I co-authored a book on the string of mysterious deaths leading up to the Great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title. Higurashi When They Cry. Okay. You're doing some fucking, Ikuko shit then? I don't remember this. That was because for those few days I was in Hinamizawa, the sound that I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. I could only wish that based on this book, those people involved with that incident could refresh their memories and bring to light a new truth. And more importantly, that nothing like this ever happens again. I wrote this in the afterword. Why did this tragedy happen? We can't reach the truth by ourselves. If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. Kuraudo Ooishi, Mamoru Akasaka. Nice. Yeah, this feels like the ending, I'm guessing. This year, the quarantine on Hinamizawa still hasn't been lifted. Oh, blomp. Alrighty. Oh, the logo's like completely clouded, more or less. Yay, now it's time for funny shit, or whatever. Let's figure out what happened. Achievement unlocked, our only wish. Alright. Damn. Yeah, that was pretty good. This chapter definitely feels like it just exists, really, for extra exposition that couldn't really fit in the first three. But it's still good despite that, so I feel like that's a good thing about it. It's definitely short, too, so it's not like it takes too long to give you the info that it wants you to know, so, yeah. All cast review session time. Time to see the actual main cast for the first time, or maybe not. Is it just gonna be Ooishi and Akasaka still? That'd be kind of funny. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi. Oh, okay. Regular Rika.
Foo-foo.
Oh my, oh my, no matter what anybody else says, I was the star of the scenario this time. On top of that, they added some nice jazzy theme music. If you can't laugh here, where can you laugh?
Anyways, hasn't there been too much of you lately, Ooishi?
Huh? What do you mean by that, Rika-san? Oh. Oh, hello, Mion. She meant that literally.
It's rather impudent of you to try and hog the spotlight here, even though you already had all that screen time.
Okay, so it is everybody still.
Besides Rika-chan, who was the main heroine, everybody else didn't really have any appearances, did they?
I mean, Mion had a little bit, but that's it. I heard that this time the scenario was a bit of a side story, but I didn't think that they would leave out the main cast this much.
You didn't have it so bad, Mion-san. At least you had a few appearances, did you not? Both Rena-san and I didn't even have a cameo.
You were mentioned, but that's it.
Rena still shows up on the covers a lot, so she's still okay.
The covers? Like of the original games?
Exactly what are you trying to say then? That I was the only outcast with no appearance? Is that it?
Keiichi.
They only treated me horribly! How sad, how sad. They'll probably just keep treating you worse and worse until you finally drop down to a supporting role. That's just too much!
You already had your chapter in the spotlight. Time to just get fucked for, like, the next few.
That's not true. There's lots of people who like Satoko-chan. They won't treat you that horribly, okay? I don't like being treated like this. I think you'll probably have a lot of appearances next time. Next time?
Hard for me not to laugh knowing what happens, but okay.
So cheer up, okay?
But I heard that this scenario was supposed to be somewhat of a bonus story. But is it really? I think that things kind of got complicated.
The story was difficult for me to understand. Yeah. What I found the hardest to believe was that the year before the string of mysterious deaths, Rika-chan already knew about them.
Which means all the incidents were part of someone's scenario. That's a pretty important piece of information.
It's probably because I'm a shrine maiden, so I knew the future from Oyashiro-sama's divine revelations.
For somebody like me who believes in the theory that it was the work of human culprits, I'd like to deny that.
I believe in the curse, so that Rika-chan, who's the living incarnation of the deity that protects Hinamizawa, Oyashiro-sama, could have that divine power is a possibility, I think.
Nope. For somebody who thinks it was the work of man, that kind of unfounded fantasy will not stand. All the incidents were caused by people. There's no curse or magic or aimbots or cheat codes. Okay.
It would be wonderful if I could use magic, though. If it's Rika-chan, I could go along with that. Huh?
Well, for the people who believe it was the work of humans, the ending was a big revelation. From the first incident until Rika-chan was killed in the Great Disaster, everything was scripted. Knowing that it's all one big incident vastly increases the amount of material you can hypothesize with.
I think that the prophecy is proof in itself that Rika-chan has some divine power. In other words, it's proof that there's some mysterious power at work in Hinamizawa. I think it's proof that the incidents weren't the work of humans alone. The inside of my head is so muddled, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, that's right. More importantly, that expression that Rika-chan was wearing this time, that was super scary, wasn't it?
Meep. Yeah, I was surprised too. I never thought that cute little Rika-chan would laugh like that.
Hey, just for a little bit, could you show us that face one more time?
I don't want to. I don't want her to do that outside of the story. What? What is this? A blackout? Nobody move! Any weird movements and you'll come face to face with synchronized Gatling guns, multiple homing missiles, and be cut up by laser sabers for the finisher.
Satoko? What's the meaning of this? And why are you playing the accordion? No, hi guys.
We'll now be starting the after party for everybody who didn't have an appearance this time.
Well, Tomotage and Takano were also mentioned. It's the mentioned by name only crew. Hell, Takano didn't even get mentioned by name. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Hello again, everybody. I didn't think that I'd have an appearance here of all places. I'm delighted, though. Satoko-chan, thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. Cat?
Oh, God.
Oh my, didn't I warn you not to move?
Ryugu-san, are you okay? Hojo-san, you didn't have to go this far.
Oh, the grudge of somebody not making an appearance is a terrible thing. Satoko had lots of appearances in the main scenario.
The grudge of somebody not making an appearance? Damn it, when was she able to set this many traps?
Maybe that when this place was selected as the venue for the after party, at that point my traps were already set.
Oh, I know. There's somebody behind you pulling the strings. There is, isn't there? Come out. Hi.
Hello, my sister. How are you doing? Oh, it's Shi-chan. Hello. Yeah? I feel sorry for her falling for the same trap twice.
I thought it was you, Shion. Even though you get to be the main character for a scenario, this is how you behave? Now you've gone and done it. She was also mentioned though, so.
Even if it is only the bonus scene before the answer arcs, I can't let my sister have all the appearances. I'm not that generous, you know? Well, in any case, I just let Satsuko start a little something-something.
Shion, what is it that you want?
Let's just say I'm securing myself a little safety buffer. The other day, for some reason, you were steadily getting more votes in the popularity poll. Pfft. Yep. In the first half of the Watanagashi chapter, there are a lot of people getting infatuated with Mi-chan.
When your malicious side made its appearance, all the players finally started noticing my charm. Satsuko also earned a good reputation during the Tatari Garoshi arc. Rena and Rika-chan have a strong baseline of support. Your popularity has long since faded away.
That's why... I thought I'd take the time now to crush you and Satsuko, who've been getting way too many votes for my comfort. So I came up with this elaborate plan. Shion-san, what did you just say now? You're going to crush me as well? You're a little slow to notice, aren't you, Shorty? Here you go.
And then she died. Wow, Mayakashi's already starting, huh?
Goodbye, all you regulars. Hello to all you irregular folk. All the main characters are done for.
Shion-chan, you don't have to go that far, probably. Now, Jiro-san. It's interesting, so just let it be. The number of appearances for the both of us is going to go up, you know? Jiro-san, do you not like being by my side? That's not true.
Chie-sensei, did Shi-chan pay you off too? I'm sorry, Ryugu-san. Shion-san said she would make me a new segment called Teach Me, Chie-sensei, starting from the next scenario. So I just... Well then, who should I dispose of next in a most embarrassing manner? Maybe Satsuko, since she helped me set all this up?
Oh, question marks. I won't allow that! Here! Oh. I won't allow that! Here! Coach!
He seems somehow reliable for once!
I, Kyosuke Irie, shall not allow any aggression against Satsuko-chan. I may also just be a supporting character, but don't think you can persuade me so easily.
Oh, then you're saying you want to withdraw from being the lead in documentary, Satsuko's maid training dress-up chapter that we planned on filming after this?
Shion-sama? I, Kyosuke Irie, shall follow you to the depths of hell! That was fast!
Well then, with this I'm holding all the cards, even in this after-party scene too. I'll have everything proceed as I see fit. Huh? We're missing somebody.
Shion-sama? Ryugu-san isn't here. She escaped at some point. Nope.
There she is! Ryugu-san! Didn't I just tell you shouldn't move?
Rena-chan, I won't do anything to hurt you, but it's easier if you don't resist.
Sorry, but all this is really bizarre.
What are you trying to do? The Mayakashi script? I see. You're planning to secure your role before any of your lines get cut out, aren't you? Resistance is futile. I mean, I'm not sure how much of a role she'll have, but whatever.
Rena-san, you should stop your pointless resistance and just come along peacefully. If you make me angry enough, then not only will you suffer, but so will my dear sister as well.
You can't do anything just by getting your hands on the script! Rena, I'm sorry, but do what they say.
It's alright, don't worry. Now that we have the Mayakashi script, we can reverse the situation. Reverse the situation? Exactly what are you scheming? Rena-san, you're pretty good at making me laugh. Then why don't you go ahead and try? Show me how you're going to turn this around. You're spoiled, Shi-chan. Even if you didn't have any appearances in the main scenario, you've had so much screen time during this after party. You're spoiled. When exactly are you saying I was spoiled? You don't understand, Shi-chan. Even if it's just the after party, you still have an appearance. You also appeared in a lot of the previous scenarios. There's somebody who resents you from the depths of hell, who can't forgive you. Listen, can't you hear it, Shi-chan? That's right! I understand now!
I get it! K-chan, I figured. That's right, he never has any appearances during the after-parties. There's no way K-chan would allow somebody to monopolize the after-parties all to themselves without him.
I see. So, how is K-chan going to appear here when he's still at the studio recording lines? It's not as if anybody here will have surpassed his workload. That's just your self-centered way of thinking, Shi-chan.
Gah, no! That's the voiced word count from Akasaka's part! Chie-sensei, hold Rena-chan back!
Huh? Huh? It's too late. It's finally your time, Keiichi-kun!
Oh no. Is he finally gonna have a sprite? That voice is... K-chan? No way! He's still supposed to be recording lines at the studio! You're right, I was until just now. Every time I get left at the studio, I get told you can join the after party if you beat someone on the remaining word count. But I always have 2 to 3 times the script volume of the other characters, making it impossible. It's like the sound director doesn't want to let me join the party from the get-go. At least, that's what I had thought. But finally, someone overtook me. A certain character. Shion, feast your eyes on this! Huh? Huh? That's right. Now she's appearing in more scenes as the main character. Shion has to speak twice the line she's had so far. And since Shion and Mion have the same VA cast, that's double again! As a result, I've finally been excused from staying back. Meaning, Shion, it's your turn to be left behind.
No way! I have to speak this much for Mayakashi?
Let's see, Kei-chan has about 500, and Shion has over 2,700? That's like the total for all the characters together in a normal adventure game.
Further adding on Mion's lines makes a total of...
I don't want to know, I don't want to know. So with that, Rena, you have my thanks. Even when even the moon abandons the land and shrouds it in true darkness, the demon lord of the darkest black, Keiichi Maebara, shall appear! I see, if it's like this, he can appear even if he doesn't have any character art. Okay. There's no character or background art, so it's really easy on the production staff. Okay, so it's a bit, got it. Shion! You act like you're the main character in a tragedy, but from my point of view, it's more like a comedy. It seems like you've gotten a little carried away. Every after party. Always being last in the studio, missing every after recording meal. Witness my anger, my grudge, and all of my sorrow. I shall instill it all upon you.
It almost seems like Keiichi-kun is doing some sort of bad guy transformation sequence.
This isn't some sort of transformation. I'll have you know I've always been a demon lord. And as of right now, this world which is enveloped within true darkness shall dance upon the palm of my hand. Within this world of darkness, there are none who can oppose me.
Keiichi-kun is kind of scary.
Scary? The age of the frightening Higurashi has come to an end. From here on out begins the dawn of a perverted and cutesy Higurashi. What did you just say? Maebara-sama, bring me with you! You know it, coach. Then as a first step, I'll show our Dr. What? Okay, game, chill out. Huh? What is this? Okay. Takano-san is in a mini-skirt nurse outfit! And it's not some pink one like you'd find in a Gauge! He knows what he's doing! It's a proper, pure, and innocent white! Even though she's a nurse, she doesn't appear in the outfit even once during the main scenario. You've got to be kidding me. Well then, on to the next target. Rena! This hasn't changed the situation at all. It's just turned into a different type of crisis.
I can't do anything in this darkness.
Now then, who should I make wear what next? That's a very weird sentence. Maybe a nice school uniform, gym clothes, school swimsuit triple combo? Mayabara-sama, you're the best! How about a bunny girl or booth babe costume? No, a leotard could be good too. No, wait, how about just making everybody hyper sexy? But of course, leave the socks on. Whoa, that's a good idea. You know your stuff, coach. I feel like we're finally seeing eye to eye here. Wait, Mayabara-san? No, K. Call me Eerie from now on. Call me Dr. Eerie. Okay. K! You can't forget about us! Tommy and Cloud are already on your side, Kay! Tommy! Cloud! We're all finally here! The Elite Four have arrived! Excuse me? What is this bullshit? Narrator. Finally, with Kay at their head, the evil Elite Four made their grand entrance. With the complete darkness, the Demon Lord of the Darkest Black, Keiichi Mayabara, was finally able to reach the surface world. His magical power was without equal. In this darkness, nobody could stand against him. All must bow. Will the heroines be unable to escape this darkness and be forced to submit to the will of the Demon Lord? Forced to wear embarrassing outfit after embarrassing outfit, being used as life-size dress-up dolls for all eternity? That's great! More! By the way, the school swimsuits are the classic type, right? I won't forgive you if there's a competitive swimming style! Damn it! Shion! Thanks you it ended up like this, so do something about it!
It's alright, sis. Kei-chan isn't the only one who can unleash their true power amid the darkness. Huh? Did we have such a convenient ally?
Yeah! You're rather impertinent, Shion Sonozaki! Also, if you were expecting help from the principal, that's too bad. This is the ultimate desire of young men. If you call yourself a man, do your best is written on this nice little authorization slip here. Of course, you won't be able to rely on the newcomer Akasaka-san either. He's been on a private couple's hot springs vacation his wife's family set up for them since yesterday. In other words, all the bases are covered.
You're so naive, Kei-chan. Even characters who have art are able to reveal their true form in the darkness.
Chie-sensei!
That's how it is, Mayabara-kun. It's dark, so I can't really tell, but it seems like Chie-sensei's outfit is different. What are those? Are all those swords in her hands? They couldn't be the black... Any more than that is a secret.
Mayabara-kun, that was just a little too much mischief on your part. The church can't overlook any more than this. Is this a reference to something? I don't fucking get it. Wait a minute! This here... There's no way, right? That's cheating! It's against the rules! Hey, she can't do this, right? Wait, you can't use that big one! Huh? Her arc drive has startup invincibility? The 7th... Oh! Yeah! Okay. And Keiichi is dead, again. Wonderful. It wasn't even really a fucking review. It was just jokes. Not like that's a bad thing, but... Christ. Oh, it's not done yet. Okay.
Hello again. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi. I think you already know this, but Higurashi When They Cry is a type of visual novel without any choices.
There was one.
Therefore, compared to adventure-type visual novels with branching routes to take, it's much closer to the experience of a book or a movie. Because of that, there is the opinion out there that this should not be called a game per se. If you're just watching it like a book or movie, Higurashi When They Cry isn't really a game, true. That's why, as you know, there are a lot of mysteries referenced during the course of the experience. When you challenge those, this work will become a proper game. All the players have the privilege of scrutinizing this mystery-packed story from all sorts of angles. For example, forming a theory about the mysteries during the course of the story, sharing them with your friends, and receiving their theories in return could be fun. In any case, the next chapter starts the answer arcs. We've tentatively called it Mayakashi, but answers are a sad thing. Based on what is revealed, all the possibilities that you were allowed to imagine until now will suddenly become refined down to a few. Based on that logic, we think that right here, before the answer arcs, is probably where people can enjoy this work we call Higurashi When They Cry the most. If by chance, while you are reading this, you already have the Mayakashi chapter at hand, please enjoy hypothesizing, theorizing, and fantasizing to the fullest before you start. That's where the real charm of the series takes place. Sorry for saying something so impudent. There's nothing better we'd like than for you to enjoy Higurashi When They Cry. Well then, have a long and pleasant night. We're waiting for you all in Hinamizawa. If you come and play with Rena, I'd love to go treasure hunting together. Huh?
Okay. Achievement unlocked, Himatsubushi party. Alright, so there we go. That was a long-ass review, though. That was like half an hour. Hot damn. Well then, in that case, I guess, that means we're done with Himatsubushi. So, I am going to be jumping straight into Mayakashi next time. I know the game just said, hey, take some time to theorize, but it's like, that would make sense if I were doing this blind. I already know what's going on, so we're just going to go straight into Mayakashi. This should be going up on the 24th of January, unless my internet dies for whatever reason. So that means we'll be starting Mayakashi on the 26th of January 2021. So yeah, be sure to be ready for that when I start it. Well, I might actually... Yeah, I have a lot of projects that I'm working on right now that I want to get done by, like, the end of this upcoming week. So I'm probably actually going to put off starting Mayakashi until maybe even this Friday. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be sometime between Tuesday and Friday. If I can, if I do have enough time on Monday to record at least the first episode of it, then yes, I'll get it up for Tuesday. But no guarantees. It'll at least be up by, like, at the very latest, the end of this month, which is only a week longer, so shouldn't be that bad. At least it'll be worth the wait from what I've heard. Mayakashi, from what I've heard, is a very, very good chapter. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. And also Sumi Horoboshi after it. Those two chapters are, like, really fucking good from what I remember of the anime. So, yeah. In that case, that's going to be it for this series, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button. And if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!